passionate. I've been passionate about the Revolution and Napoleonic period. During this season, I absolutely adore the after lunch or the after dinner reading on the balcony before going back to the studio usually, nicely protected by the umbrella in the shadow. Right now we have the best summer weather after a very brutal June. July is very pleasant, not too hot temperatures, just perfect to stay outside, to read outside. And here I'm just finishing the correspondence between Madame de Choiseul, who was the aunt of Le Duc de Lauzun, if you had seen my Versailles Chronicles, and Madame du Deffand, a very famous woman writer. Well, she mainly wrote letters, and she corresponded with Voltaire, and she's a very important lady from the 18th century. And the correspondence is very sweet, very nice. I like to capture my favorite passages in my reading notebook, and yes, I adore these two ladies. They are just wonderful. I just came back from the monthly Brocante in my town, and there was not a lot of things. I just came back with a few doilies and laces things, and some aprons, kitchen aprons. Some have stains, I will see. Some are completely clean, but some have stains, so I hope I will be able to make them disappear. So there was this one, which was pretty. So they are not as beautiful as my great-great-grandmother. Beautiful embroidered, well, napkins, tablecloth and everything. It was quite an interesting shape, so I found this one. These ones were in a very good condition. They have some rust stain. Those usually disappear pretty well. I don't think they have been used also because there is still the label. And he has this shape. It was a beautiful one, I thought. It's a round one, yes. So he has just some rust stain. I think they will disappear, so it's perfect condition. So yes, I was a little disappointed, but in summertime usually the brocanteurs, they go in more touristic places and they come back when the brocante season is gone. So for us, we have more chance to find great things a little later. Usually around Christmas, it's much better. There are more choices, and this one was nice. It has never been used either. And I also found they have some stain, two aprons to cook, so I will see if they come back. One doesn't have a lot. Yes, he has something here. I will put them. I don't make them touch too many things because it was very dirty where they were, so I'm going to put them in my whitening powder to see if I can remove most of it. But I thought they were pretty nice. And well, all the things I have here, it was €10, all of that. So, and there is just a label. Okay, so they probably are not super old, but I thought it would be nice to have some real nice old kitchen apron. But yes, they have some stain. This one I think had maybe more stain, yes. So we'll see how they come out after the whitening. So, my little finds from the Brocante. Not crazy things, but you always can make a good use of these beautiful things that nobody wants. So, there was nobody who wanted to buy them, so I was the only one. So, we can say I saved them. As I was in a doily mood, I added the doily embroidered by my great-great-grandmother this time above the kitchen door. I wanted to have and to work a little more on the doors in the apartment. It's a process too. I'm going to add more things. I plan to do some really nice curtains, but in the meantime, I thought I could add a little something to make them more pretty, and I also added one on the corridor door too. I love that. I'm quite happy with the result. And in the studio, I'm finishing to film and prepare the new Alice in Wonderland workshop. I'm almost there. And this is the White Rabbit, which is getting dressed. It's not entirely finished to be dressed yet. Summer and July always makes me want to wander in the last decade of the 18th century and to revisit the French Revolution. I have been fascinated by this period since I'm a child. I find all these characters so moving and captivating with the lights and the shadows. I also find fascinating that all the heroes, all the characters during this time, Danton, Robespierre, Desmoulins, all the revolutionaries, but also the King Louis XVI, the Queen Marie-Antoinette, Lafayette, they all have the same age. They are from the same generation. Most of them will have the same fate. There is only Lafayette who will escape the guillotine, but I find that, well, really moving to think about that. As it is the 14th of July today, I wanted to finish before today a book I had bought in a Brocante last year for I think 50 cents, and it was Le Tribunal Révolutionnaire, so the Revolutionary Justice Court. I'm not really sure how you translate that. And it was so good. I'm passionate. I've been passionate about the Revolution and Napoleonic period since a very young age, and especially the Revolution was my entrance gate to the 18th century. Maybe unlike a lot of people, it's not the dresses, Marie Antoinette, the the superficial or the shallow aspect of the 18th century which interested me or fascinated me really as a child. It was the Revolution with all the chaos, so all the extreme which were next to each other at the same time, the best and the worst, and the guillotine, which was this really fascinating thing, like horrible of course, but still it's really the other side, the darker side of the Enlightenment in the 18th century, but well, necessary at some point, we could say. It is a period which have always been a passion for me, and as a child I was fascinated by a film I've seen, and I think it's the film I've seen the most in my life. I've seen it probably 100 times, I can't even count. It's a mini series, so I think in total it's probably 6 hours long, but it was divided in episodes. It was made in 1989, and it's the all-time best, I think, to my opinion, film reconstitution of the Revolution, French Revolution. And I will put a link of this film that you can watch for free, which is not so often online on YouTube, with English subtitles. It's still there. I hope they are going to leave it there because it's a wonderful film. And the subtitles have been made by someone who translated things in a strange way. I've checked that, and not everything is accurate, but for the most part, it's good, and the film is really wonderful. So that's been my all-time favorite. And yes, this year I wanted to go back a little to that. So I've read this book, Le Tribunal Révolutionnaire, mainly about maybe the biggest villain of the French Revolution, whose name was Fouquier-Tinville, and he was l'accusateur public, the public accusator. I don't know how you would say that. I don't think this function exists in the English justice world. Well, he was the one who sent everybody to the guillotine, really. They say that he's probably guilty to have sent at the minimum 1,000 persons, probably 2,500. So he had a lot of blood on his hands. I learned a lot of things I didn't know. It doesn't go into too much details about all the trials of Marie Antoinette, the king, or the revolutionary Danton, which is one of my favorites from the French Revolution. But it was very interesting with a lot of things I didn't know. Reading that, the writer, I didn't realize the writer was the same writer than the Red series I have here, which is a series of books which belong to my grandfather about the French Revolution. So I have 6 volumes, and now I didn't read them till now, but I really want to read them now because I realized it was the same author, and I really enjoyed his book. And he was mentioning a memoir in the book, probably the most creepy memoirs which have been written in the 18th century. I have ordered them on eBay at once when I was reading that. I know I'm going to love them, though they are a little creepy, I would totally confess, but I've checked that they are translated in English and available on Amazon. I'm not going to tell you what sort of memoirs they are, but once I've started to read them and receive them, I will let you know if they are good, because it's another interesting side also of this period. I like the good side. I'm finishing to read the Madame du Deffand, Madame de Choiseul. Really nice and gentle correspondence. It's related to my Versailles Chronicles series, and now I've continued to read them. That's what I was showing you earlier in this video, and I love them. It's just 2 wonderful ladies who are writing to each other. I read these things, and I read creepy things once in a while because they're just interesting. And so many people read crime, police books or thrillers or things like that, and I enjoy them. I don't watch series, I don't read any of these things. I prefer those because they're just the villains in these historical moments are just beyond anything that could be created by scenarists these days. Anyway, that was very interesting. I love the French Revolution, as I say. I'm never tired of reading things about it. Once my creepy memoirs arrive, I know I'm going to have 4 volumes to continue this period. Now, I don't only read that, but just something I'm interested in, and I'm not going to do a series about that. Don't worry, there will be no historical series about the French Revolution or a workshop to teach you how to do a guillotine if you wanted to do one. This one I would need to improve it anyway. But no, there wouldn't be none of that, but I still have my own interest. I'm not into only the bright and beautiful side of the 18th century, but also the real side, which has been so important for us.
And even Robespierre, who is really thought as the worst tyrant from the revolution, he did good things. He
created a law to protect orphans. Being an orphan himself and having been raised by his grandfather who didn't like him very much, he was very moved by the situation of young children without parents. Though he was very poor, he had a scholarship to study in Paris in high school and was only wearing very worn out clothes with a lot of holes in his shoes, and he received a lot of criticism and love from all the other students. So it's always interesting to go back in their childhood and to see where all these characters come from and what they had to suffer in the first years of their life. And I also find interesting that he wrote a speech, a very, very important speech against death penalty in 1791, so almost 200 years before it was eventually abolished in France in 1981. You can't say he was an absolute tyrant and did only horrible things and put everybody to the guillotine. But my favorite is more Danton, who is more, well, not as extreme as Robespierre. Said a very interesting speech also during his trial that you can hear in the film I mentioned. There is the entire speech he said, the very last word he said before he was sent to the guillotine. And it is a very, very moving speech which, well, can resonate a lot with us even today. I try to reorganize and embellish my windows and balcony a little more on the windows on the street side, inspired by the beautiful balcony of the tea room you saw in a vlog last September. It was in Besançon, and this tea room is called Bêtises et Voluptés. It's a wonderful place and I love her balcony. I wanted to really give more this whimsical, fairy tale, fantasy aspect she gave to her balcony, to mine, and also to the windows. So it's a work in progress. I started to reuse things I had for now, but I'm going to try to collect more bird cages and things which of course can endure the weather and the rain and everything. But yes, I know what I want to add, and I'm going to add more magical things on the windows, even before the Christmas and the Halloween season, but also to adapt them to the different season afterwards. So I'm continuing to work on the very last part of the new Alice workshop. It's going to arrive at the same time than the first Alice workshop with Humpty Dumpty, the little Alice in the house, and the rabbit in the teacup. And the new Alice workshop has the white rabbit running, the running white rabbit, and a gardener card. There are less characters, if you will, but they take much longer than just these elements. So it's the reason there are only 2 of them, because they will keep those who join it quite busy already. Thank you for joining me today, and I promise there are many videos coming in the upcoming days. Thank you very much, and I will see you very soon.